flow on, sweep away my pain, bring your healing to my heart, help me love once again. Cares and worries get me down, fear of failure fills my day. When I'm lost and all alone, help me, Lord, to find your way. People knocking at my door, strangers seeking love and care. Never let me turn them down. Teach me gently how to share. Children, come into my life with your laughter and your song. When will I become like them? Teach me, Lord, to sing along.
Hello dear friends, welcome back. Yesterday we spoke of the various elements needed to proclaim one as the king of the land. We mentioned that there are 7 elements or important points needed in this proclamation. And the last point we said, the ability to save the people, it is to be manifested. Yesterday, as we were concluding the session, we were rushing through a little bit. And the last point was not completely explained. Okay, therefore, we will explain it first and then proceed further. When Saul was appointed the king in the public ceremony led by Samuel, the people came and offered gifts for him. But some of the people, they refused to give him any present. And the reason was that in their vision or in their viewpoint, Saul is not the best candidate for kingship. They said there are many who are better warriors than Saul. Then why this farmer? Because we know Saul was a farmer. Why the prophet has anointed this farmer as the king? And therefore, they despised him and brought no gifts. And this story is narrated in chapter 10, verse 26 we read, Saul went to his home at Gibeah, and with him went warriors whose hearts God had touched. But some worthless fellows said, how can this man save us? They despised him and brought him no present, but he held his peace. Therefore, some of the people, they might have thought we would have been or one of us would have been the better selection for kingship rather than Saul, because he is after all a farmer. And hence they despised him and brought no present for him when he is appointed as the new king. But he did not say anything about them. And in chapter 11, we find how he manifests his ability to save the people. And we already mentioned the story. There was a ancient town that's called Jabesh Gilead, and it was attacked by the neighboring nation, powerful enemy, the Ammonite kingdom or the Ammonites, with Rabbah as capital. And when they came and attacked Jabesh Gilead, we know the usual custom up to that time was this: when a town of a tribe is being attacked by the enemy, only the tribe will come to help, no help will reach from other tribes. And therefore, if there is a powerful enemy, there will be nobody who is ready to come and help the town or the tribe in its need. And therefore, the people of Jabesh Gilead, when they were conquered, they asked for a treaty. And Ammonites said, okay, we will make a treaty with you with one condition: we will gauge out, or we will take out the right eye from every individual of the city. And what does it imply? As long as they live, they will be the subject of despisal and dishonor, because whoever sees them will ask, what happened to our eye? And they will have to say, Ammonites took it, or Ammonites destroyed our eyesight. And thus, all the days of their lives, they will have to bear this dishonor. And when this condition was put forward, the people of Jabesh Gilead, they asked some more time to ponder over this request or this stipulation. And they said, we will send persons to other tribes that they may come and help. If nobody comes, then we will obey what you say. And the Ammonites agreed, because they know that nobody is going to come to help the people of Jabesh Gilead, because Ammonites, they were very powerful, and not only that, the tribes were not united beforehand, and therefore nobody is going to come. That is what they thought. But here things are different. Now they have a king. Though the king is not living in a palace, he is still living in his own father's house. And what is he doing? He is doing farming, and he was coming with his oxen from the field, and he happened to hear great cry as he approached the village or the town, we can say. And he inquired, what is the problem? And now it was communicated to him what the Ammonites did to Jabesh Gilead and what they have demanded now. And now we see, when he, verse 5, 11:5, what is the matter with these people that they are weeping? So they told him the message from the inhabitants of Jabesh. And the Spirit of God came upon Saul in power when he heard these words, and his anger was greatly kindled. He took a yoke of oxen and cut them in pieces and sent them throughout all the territory of Israel by messengers, saying, whoever does not come out after Saul and Samuel, so shall it be done to his oxen. Okay, what is the meaning of this symbolic act? He cut his oxen, pair of oxen, into 12 pieces and sent them piece by piece to all the tribes, saying, whoever does not come after Saul and Samuel will be treated like this. That is, their oxen will be cut into pieces. That is, their oxen will be killed. That is the threatening words from Saul. And the people who heard it knew these are the words of the new king. and he may do it. Therefore, they were afraid, and they set out immediately and came to King Saul. And the wonderful effect is this. We read, then the dread of the Lord fell upon the people, and they came out as one, when he mustered them at Bezek. Verse 8. Those from Israel were 300,000, and those from Judah 70,000. And they said to the messengers who are come, thus shall you say to the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead, tomorrow by the time the sun is hot, you shall have deliverance. And Saul was able to defeat Ammonites very easily, and thus he established the ability to save the people from the hands of the enemy. And this is the story narrated here. Therefore, Saul is the first king, and in him all these elements are fulfilled, we can say. Okay, now Saul is established as the first king of Israel. And we see, since kingship is totally new to Israel, the king as well as the people are to be taught very clearly with the precise guidelines how they are to conduct their roles or how they are to fulfill their roles. Remember, God was their king, and even now he is the king of Israel, but he is entrusting some of his missions to the earthly king, that is all. But the king is not to think that he is the supreme ruler of the nation. He is not. It is Yahweh himself. But instead of Yahweh, the present king will rule the nation according to the guidelines given by Yahweh. And that is the clear notion given here. And we will find Samuel dealing with the Saul in a very strict manner. And what was the reason? We say the monarchy, being the young institution, is to be guided properly in the initial stages. We know when somebody is going to take up a new office, we say will try to be the most efficient and active one, because the first impression will give a we can say a radical impact or lasting impact. In the same way here, since he is the first king, he is to make a tradition now for the followers how a king is to rule the God's nation Israel. Therefore, Israel is still different from other nations because God is their king, the supreme ruler and the supreme commander. Of course, the earthly king is given the authority for the time being, and they are to do everything in accordance with what the God says. Therefore, total obedience to God is to be there. If they exhibit any disobedience, they will be dealt with harshly, and not only that, they will be treated in a they will be punished by the Lord, and that is the method used by Samuel. Therefore, Samuel is giving training both for the king and for the people, how they are to conduct themselves in the new setup. And new setup, as we said, it is the monarchic setup. Till now, Israel was theocracy, but now a monarchy. And in this monarchical setup, how they are to conduct themselves. And this is the clear message that we will find in the following chapters, chapters 12, 13, 14 and 15, we can say. And now we see in chapter 12, we find the farewell discourse of Samuel. And it is interesting to read and take some important message for our own life. Okay, let us read the first paragraph of chapter 12. Samuel said to all Israel, I have listened to you in all that you have said to me, and have set a king over you. See, it is the king who leads you now. I am old and grey, but my sons are with you. I have led you from my youth until this day. Hence, here I am. Testify against me before the Lord and before his anointed, that is his king. Whose ox have I taken? Or whose donkey have I taken? Or whom have I defrauded? Whom have I oppressed? Or from whose hand have I taken a bribe to blind my eyes with it? Testify against me, and I will restore it to you. They said, You have not defrauded us, or oppressed us, or taken anything from the hand of anyone. He said to them, The Lord is witness against you, and his anointed is witness this day, that you have not found anything in my hand. And they said, He is witness. Okay, now we see. This is almost like a farewell discourse of Samuel. He is really old now. The king has taken his place, and administration is now belonging to the king. Therefore, the prophet has not much to do. But at the same time, he has his role to play. And here he is pointing out as a first thing. He challenges the people to make a test with regard to him, whether he was unjust, whether he was partial, whether he was bribed by someone, or whether he forcefully took something from someone. And the people unanimously shout, You have not done anything. You are totally just and perfect. Okay, what is the impact of this passage? There is a beautiful message that we can derive from this. And what's the message? Okay, let us take this example. I am sure that many of those who hear or attend this class may be employed somewhere. And there will come a day, the day of your retirement. And we have often taken part in the retirement day celebrations. We know there's a party and so on. And everybody will be saying good words about the person, and they will give him some, we can say, words of praise, honor, and so on. And now, think of your own day of retirement. And all others who are working with you, your co-workers, are gathered together to see you off. And there's a small party or celebration, and together with a small meeting. And people, they speak good words about you, quite natural. And now you are to make a reply speech. And as you give out your reply, will you be able to speak like Samuel? In all the days of my work, when I was here in the office, I have been always just and upright. I had never received bribe from anyone. I had never closed my eyes taking bribe from someone and to close my eyes against justice. I have not defrauded, or I have not taken by force anything from anyone. Or whatever someone said, can we apply it to ourselves and say in front of our co-workers? That's a question. And that is a message that the passage gives. Will we be able to make a departing speech or retirement speech like Samuel? If we could do like Samuel, see what a great blessing it would be. But will we be able to say that? That's a question. And therefore, this is the important message that we can derive from this text. And now, as we go forward, we will find verse 6 onwards, there is a summary statement of the history of the nation of Israel. And this is one of the techniques used by the editor. There will be a historical summary or summary of the historical events that occurred or happened for the people of Israel. And this summary will be put in the mouth of either the author or in one of the characters. And here we find such a lengthy passage is here, which comprises the entire history of Israel. And here it is placed in the mouth of Samuel himself. And that is what we read here. Now Samuel said to the people, verse 6, the Lord is witness and the anointed one. Verse 7 onwards, therefore take your stand, so that I may enter into judgment with you before the Lord. Okay, I am going to make a trial of you, and you have to answer. Then what God has done for Israel, he is enumerating. Verse 8, when Jacob went into Egypt and the Egyptians oppressed them, Lord sent Moses, Aaron, and they were led out of Egypt. Then when they came into the promised land, they forgot Lord their God and God punished them. The story of the judges is summarized here. And they were taken captives by the neighboring powerful nations or enemies. And in verse 10 we read, then they cried out to the Lord by saying, we have sinned because we have forsaken the Lord and have served the Baals and Astartes. But now rescue us out of the hand of our enemies, and we will serve you. And thus the people of Israel, they became contrite and now confess that Yahweh alone is the real God, not Baal and Asherahs or Astartes. And then even though they prayed like that, later they forget that too. And we will see here. Verse 13. See, here is the king whom you have chosen, for whom you have asked. See, the Lord has set a king over you. And therefore, now he gives a very solemn warning. If you will fear the Lord and serve him and heed his voice and not rebel against the commandment of the Lord. And if both you and the king who reigns over you will follow the Lord your God, it will be well. But if you will not heed the voice of the Lord, but rebel against the commandment of the Lord, then the hand of the Lord will be against you and your king. Therefore, this is the way he would deal with Israel. God is giving them a very serious warning, we can say. And therefore, this is the way how Samuel makes the people of Israel obedient to the way of the Lord, and they are reminded that God will punish them if they are not obedient to God's will, or if they are not performing God's will and commands and ordinances, etc. This is what we can say. And therefore, the people will now confess that they have committed sin, and therefore they ask him to be forgiven by the Lord. And here we see there is a confession from the people that we have committed sin against Yahweh, and therefore now they become really afraid of Yahweh and Samuel. And Samuel says, okay, I am going to punish you for the sin of asking for a king. Verse 17, is it not the wheat harvest today? Chapter 12, 17. I will call upon the Lord that he may send thunder and rain, and you shall know and see that the wickedness that you have done in the sight of the Lord is great in demanding a king for yourself. Therefore, this is the sin of Israel. They demanded for a king. And we have already explained why it came to be treated as a serious sin. And now Samuel says, since you demanded for a king and thereby you sinned against Yahweh, I am going to punish you. And what is the punishment? They have harvested the wheat and everything is stored up there. And now Samuel says, I am going to pray to the Lord to send rain and thunder today. And what will happen? It will destroy the entire crop. And therefore, they are really afraid of Samuel. And hence, they come to him together and makes a plea to him, pray for us that we may not die because of this punishment. And now Samuel agrees, I will pray for you. And this we already referred to in verse 23. When the people asked him to pray for them, he is saying, moreover, as for me, far be it from me that I should sin against the Lord by ceasing to pray for you. If I do not intercede for you, I am committing a sin. Therefore, I will surely intercede for you. And besides, one more thing is said, I will instruct you in the good and the right way. Therefore, this we can say, instruction and is the new ministry or the mission of the prophet. The prophet is deprived of his mission that he had fulfilled hitherto. Now they are taken over by the king and he is left without a proper mission. But now he chooses for himself the mission, his charism. One is intercession and the second is instruction. Therefore, these are the important ministry that Samuel took up when the king has come into the rule of the country. Therefore, this is a new setup, and now the king is there and prophet is there, and the prophet or the judge, we can say Samuel, he has to take up a new mission, and the king will rule, lead, and guide the people. But Samuel, he will go on with the spiritual dimension to instruct them and to intercede for them. Thus, a new way of ministry is established in the kingdom of Israel. And this is practically the beginning of the ministry of the king, we can say. The prophet has given way for the king. Therefore, a transformation in the setup of administration is already made here. Okay, we will continue with the sins of Saul the next day. Okay, thank you.
Loving God, we thank you for the blessing of reading your word together. We ask that these words of life, truth, and hope would continue to impact us in the days ahead. May your love and grace follow each of us, refreshed and blessed by you. Amen.